So, welcome back to Senate Economic Development. And we are now turning to our housing bill, S328. And we've had to make some hard choices to get this out in time for crossover. And I just would remind everybody that if you are missing something you care passionately about, you have many other opportunities to affect the conversation. And in the House and in finance and in appropriations. So with that disclaimer, I would love to welcome our legislative counselor, Cameron Wood, and ask that he review the current draft, which incorporates pretty much everything we've discussed with a major new suggestion.
Okay. For the record, Cameron Wood, Office of Legislative Counsel. I share my screen and we'll start walking through a new amendment to S328. This will be draft 2.1. And I'll start off with the caveat that I just finished this mere moments ago. And so it has not been edited. I have sent it to our editors for review. So you can vote on it, with any further amendments that you all would like to make this morning. But just as an acknowledgement, I threw a watermark on it that it has been edited at this point. There are amendments kind of throughout, so we'll start with section 1 and we'll start walking through. As another just quick caveat as we get started, there are sections towards the end of the bill that are not in my portfolio area but are in Ellen's, and I believe that she's going to join us.
She's joining us at 10.
She's available, so when she gets here, when we get to those sections, I'll turn it over to her. For starters, on page 1, we have section 1 related to municipal plans. And if you all recall, this started out with a lot more information about updating the housing element for a municipal plan, to try to identify whether the whether the municipality is going to be able to meet its housing targets, identify the statewide housing needs assessment, and if the municipality cannot meet its housing targets, providing a lot of information about what are the regulatory and fiscal constraints that are keeping the municipality from meeting those targets. Based on the recommendations that you all had from testimony, this section 1 has changed slightly, and it's changed in 2 ways. First off, it's not its own section anymore. What we're doing is we're amending the subdivision in the section related to municipal plans. So we're not creating a new section. So we're going directly to the municipal plan in section 4382. And then we're looking directly into subdivision 10, which is the subdivision that requires the housing element.
Right.
So, directly amending where the housing element language currently is. And then it's just kind of more, I would say, honing in on what the intent is behind the previous language. So it's a lot more narrow in the verbiage of what you're trying to accomplish. So in the housing element.
But I would just say overarchingly, we are trying, the attempt in these sections is to incorporate the housing targets that our RPCs have worked on with our communities, with our towns, into going forward into their plans, town plans, as they organically evolve.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So say it.
So this would change it to say that the housing element shall include, so currently it's recommended program for public and private actions to address housing needs and targets identified in the Regional Planning Commission. We're adding the language here beginning on lines 18. Housing element shall also include an analysis of any regulatory and physical constraints preventing the development, redevelopment, or rehabilitation of sufficient housing to meet the housing needs and targets, and a description, so a little bit, and a description of what actions the municipality may take to accommodate the projected housing needs. And then you've got some additional language at the end of the section stating that progress towards the construction of the housing units identified as needed to meet projected housing targets shall be documented within the housing element and updated as appropriate when the plan is amended or readopted according to sections 4385 or 4387 of this title, as the case may be. 4385 and 4387 are the sections related to amending in a municipal plan or readopting the municipal plan.
Great.
Okay.
Any thoughts?
I'm gonna keep moving unless people.
No, I want us to sign off on
Okay.
these sections. I just want to remind us, this is Catherine Dimitrick and Sam, Sheehan's. Yes. The LCT and our planners, this is the key input that they gave us that makes this workable for all town sizes. Okay, we all okay with this? Great. Thank you, Catherine and Sam. And Karen.
Moving on to section 2. This is tax credits. This is, if you all remember, the VHFA down payment assistance program. So when you look on page 3, the bottom of page 3, currently the 250,000 per year tax credits that VHFA has the statutory authority to issue expires in 2026. And so when you move to the top of page 4, what this would do is, and I've already noticed a typo, I apologize, there on page 4, that should be in fiscal year 2027 through 2031. So for the next 5 years, so it's extending the tax credit for 5 years and then increasing it from 250,000 to 350,000.
Right. And I would thank Maura for sending us a really strong email in the last couple of days of supporting this work. And we've had much discussion of it. And let's keep this in our money discussion for the end. But this is here at a minimum of 250 and the request to bid 350, which is why it's here as such. But this is a decision point that we will make.
So the new language here, again, extending it for another 5 years and then going up to 350. Okay. Next section is section 3. I've made a change in the reader assistance heading here because this section has been pared down quite a bit. If you remember, this is where the treasurer currently has the ability to create a credit facility of up to 10% of the state's average cash on hand. The proposal is to increase that to 12.5%. There was in the previous version, there was a lot of language about creating a separate credit facility of up to 1% and allowing the use of that 1% money to purchase off-site constructed housing. And then there was language about the state treasurer keeping the interest on all the credit facilities that they currently operate, taking the interest and putting that into a Vermont Housing Special Fund, and the Vermont Housing Special Fund being used for additional investments in housing. All of the extra there, the 1%, the interest, the special fund, all of that has been removed. And the offsite constructor pilot program has been removed as well.
I would just remind us, it's coming to us from the House. Duplication in this. It is active. And if it doesn't make it through the House, we can have further conversation about it. But I'm committed to hopefully getting that taken up and passed. But it's duplicated in the House and actively, pieces of it will definitely be coming to us and we can build on them. But I think for the moment, for getting this out today, this made the most sense to do this at this point.
So what this has is the one piece of increasing the credit facility from 10 to 12.5. That is the one piece that remains here.
Getting more is just not that challenging. And these are incredible investments that we are being able to make. Remember, these are loans that the local investment advisory council makes at the discretion of, with the support of the treasurer.
Yep. Okay, so that's the primary change in A. The remainder pieces in this section are minor technical amendments. I will highlight, I did add, and I assume you would want it in page 5. So there's this annual report that's required under D, and I added in the D2 that the expiration of required reports will not apply to that because I assume that you're going to want to continue to receive this information on an annual basis as long as they're issuing this credit, as long as they're issuing loans.
They're incredibly important to housing. We have a representative from the treasurer's office here. David, would you kind of just introduce yourself and tell us, if you would, what percent of the LAC loans are going to housing? Because it's a significant percent, isn't it?
Yes, David Sherry, Deputy Treasurer. While we do have some legacy loans from a few years back that are not housing related, all of the loans that have gone out in the last, I'd say, 2.5 to 3 years have been housing related. They support about 1,700 units of new or preserved housing in the state. And so across the whole portfolio, I think it's something on the order of about 80% or probably a little higher now of the plan funding is supporting.
Right, and I just think this is, I know we have, DHCD has my back here, and I know how important some of these loans have been to putting together these complicated affordable housing projects. So and you've been able to do some things that weren't sort of traditionally affordable housing. You've been able to do more mixed use and market rate housing, which is also so needed in our community. So this has been a great and more flexible housing financing instrument, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
Than what we have otherwise. So thank you. And thank you, Dave.
So the next section is going to be section.
So are we all okay with this section? David? Your mix. Okay, if you have a question, this is a good time to ask him. Okay, okay.
The next section, section 4, is going to be related to common interest communities. So if you all recall, the bill as it was up to this point had requiring common interest communities to accept leasing within units, accept family childcare home within units, accept accessory dwelling units, and accept the installation of electric vehicle supply equipment. There's a lot of discussion and concern from witnesses external about the language that was there, how expansive it would be, what common interest communities are you applying the provisions to? Is it going to be retroactive? Common interest communities going to run the gamut of how they're set up, what they look like, how expansive they are, how old they are, which law applies, etc. And there was concern in certain sections about taking common elements, land that's owned in common, and using it for exclusive use, and wanting to make sure the language was exactly how it needed to be to not raise any potential, legal concerns. And so what all of those sections have been removed, and it has been condensed into just requirement for our office to issue you all a report by November of this year, identifying legal issues associated with the provisions that were in the bill. And be happy to expand upon that if you all would like additional information. I know there was a discussion about giving certain incentives for density, for example. I didn't include that at this point, but I'd be happy to add. Just the point being, it's kind of a legal and practical landmine to walk through the common interest communities title. And so this is asking our office to come back to you all with information on each of the provisions that were in the bill and giving you some written guidance about what those legal issues would be. So you can then make some informed decision like that.
And I appreciate this because what's been interesting is as we have taken up this issue, we do not have a lot of experience working with home ownership associations, condominium associations, communities of common interest, and both the complex interaction of covenants and leases and deeds and affordable housing. It's a mix of law and challenges that I don't think we really had as we were looking at some of the issues that were raised by the lawyer in particular. I'm just totally, I'm saying her name as well.
Christian,
right. It became clear we needed to do some more work on this before we could go forward. So this was a solution that Thomas in large measure proposed. And well, we did, and I was moving towards some of this, but I'm I am grateful to our legislative council that his interest, given that he has the housing portfolio, that his interest has been piqued enough by these challenges that he is willing to take on exploring them further. And some of us are happy to continue working on that this summer with you. Sorry. Any thoughts? I know it's disappointing, but it's
I just wonder about the
what page are you on? Let's just-
page 6, line 2, authorized commercial purposes within a dwelling unit. This may have been thought through, and I know that we were talking about in-home childcare. I thought the more elegant solution that we heard about actually from that attorney was treating in-home childcare like a residential use. So I just don't want to scare people that were saying you could like have all kinds of businesses out of your home in a common interest community and focus more on what types of uses should be considered part of homes.
Yeah, understood. And my thought of drafting it this way was, I could have originally articulated it directly as the bill mentioned of authorizing, a family childcare home within a dwelling unit. But my thought was you may, if I'm doing the research on it, I would look at that a little more globally and saying, what types of uses, are there legal issues of allowing? So that's why I phrased it this way. But
and actually, it got me thinking that it would then, with the rising percent of our elder care, with our demographics, there may be more people actually who are also doing elder care
In-home.
in-home.
Yeah.
So that concerned me. And I thought that's why I like this broader use. Also, I read Doncaster. I mean, there are some other things that people do out of their homes that are commercial, like Mary Kay Cosmetics or Tupperware, whatever, that where people are, it is commercial.
Yeah.
And it's in their home.
My mother did Mary Kay and Tupperware.
So, so
Throwback.
so I could leave this this way. I could draft it to be a little more narrow.
I would actually keep it this way and explore it broadly, but we could also, as we go forward, illustrate it. But I think at the moment
And I know those are obviously the family childcare home was in the bill at one point in particular, so I will make sure to hone in on that specifically as part of the.
yeah, well, I'm a proponent on all those things, care of other human beings, whether they're old or young.
Right.
And, but also things that don't have ongoing impact 365 days a year, like a Mary Kay or a Tupperware or a Doncaster or a Carlisle. Great.
Okay.
Are
So-
people okay with this move? David, Randy?
Yep.
Thomas? Great.
Okay. Page 6, we're moving on to section 5, which is the Vermont Economic Development Authority. There's no change to this
Right,
section.
right.
So
And we'd okayed this already.
if you all recall, this is just about giving VEDA the ability to finance multi-unit housing with discretion of the HFA on those projects. Next section is section 6, service supported housing. And the only changes in this were recommended by, your external stakeholders to highlight the reference to developmental disability services as those are specific services and wanting to make sure it's identifying exactly what they're referring to. So you see that change on line 19, page 7. And then there's another change at the end in page 9, same change, just identifying that the advisory council will report annually on the housing assessment for individuals served by developmental disability services. So if you all recall, this was a continuation of the work that happened over this past summer with the report that you all had coming back, primarily to work on developing state plans for housing for individuals with developmental disabilities.
This is terrific. This is terrific. I will note that we are in, again, something many of us care deeply about is moving this conversation forward. So this council is going to be critically important. And with VHCB on it, I would note that because we're pulling the $3 million, from the bill, at which you'll notice later when we get to that. I am gonna count on the voice of VHCB, which hosted that pilot, in trying to find one-time money and being creative about how we figure out the money going forward, because we have to figure out the money for all this housing. I mean, we can address all the low-hanging fruit and the barriers zoning wise and regulatory wise, but we are still gonna need money to build housing. So if we're really serious about housing crisis, we gotta find money for it. So I'm very glad VHCB is on this council, and I just want to say that's where we're going to leave the money piece at the moment. We're sorry, but we hoped that we would find it from unknown properties in the treasurer's office, but that evaporated as a possibility. And so we're going to have to advocate for some more one-time money to keep that pilot going, and or be creative about finding it elsewhere. And or we're all going to have to go to Whitehall and start buying Powerball tickets, or whatever we can get Whitehall dedicated to housing. Anyway, thank you.
That, I will pause there. I guess I'll move down because we're starting to transition over into the municipal zoning, the areas that are really more in Ellen's portfolio where she has made some amendments. But before we get there, I'll scroll down and bring you to
You take up to appropriations, I think.
positions and appropriations, yes, ma'am, the bottom of page 15. So you have the following positions being created in DHCD: 2 full-time classified grants management specialists, 1 full-time exempt position to increase the capacity to administer their programs. And then there is 1 position being created within Department of Aging, the Department of Disabilities, Aging and Independent Living for expanding housing and residential service options. I believe that's kind of to coincide with the work that's up above with the creation of that council.
Right.
And then you have 2 appropriations in the bill, 250,000 to municipal.
Well, or 350 is the conversation started there. And then 250 is what?
You have 350 for the tax credit above.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. And then you have here 250,000.
Oh, right. I apologize. Yeah.
Right.
Forget.
And then you have 250 for the municipal and regional planning and resilience funds for municipal planning grants. And then you have $5 million base budget for V50. And then you have an effective date of July 1, 2026.
Great. Okay, so we have a bunch of decision points here. Ellen sadly is not able to be with us until 11. Is that correct?
I can,
Which is pushing things out a bit, but we are just, would you like to go through?
they're highlighted, so I can mention to you at least what's changed. And then,
Okay, and then we can go to some of our decision points.
may rely on you for recollection as to why you were doing the change, but
Yeah.
Here in the municipal zoning, so section 7, this is about, municipal bylaws cannot have the effect of excluding mobile homes, modular homes. You're adding manufactured housing.
Yeah.
From any district that allows year-round residential development. So kind of clarification there that the bylaws can't prohibit these types of housing in these areas.
This is, remember where we heard from Rachel Siegel, from Pew. She was on this morning on Vermont Public, Station. Rachel Siegel was called out and spoke.
Yay.
There's a nice big piece on Vermont, on National Public Radio.
Oh, national.
Yeah.
That was carried up.
I think my memory was we were okay on this, given the addition of manufactured housing. Is that everybody's recollection? I think that we were fine with this. And we'll have Ellen to come in and further clarify, but
And just for clarity, if a local zoning ordinance
Trump's,
does it, it's not true.
I believe it does, and we'll have Ellen come in and, so, but just note that is your question. Local ordinances and
That's just the city council that worked with DRB stuff. My opinion is it does. Trumping is one
Even
of
though
the
this is
six.
state law,
that they still over supersede Is that a better word than
I
Trump?
think they overlay.
Yeah,
is
that's
what
what
I
it
would say.
because it's saying you can't exclude this type.
Yeah.
You can set conditions
Yes. On where
about
they
what
can.
it looks like and what environmental regulations it has to follow.
Right.
Yeah.
If this type of construction meets their aesthetic and design, street design standards, then it would be permitted. That's my understanding. I'm not an attorney.
No, but that was my understanding too, and that with this edition, people were okay with it, but we'll confirm that. Let's confirm that with us.
Wait, it does not read with clarity.
Oh,
Well, it doesn't read with clarity in terms of the decision superseding.
Well, but, and I think
it's already in law. I think what she will tell us is it's in the underlying law, but we will have Ellen confirm that.
and the challenge we tried to articulate is that if you don't have zoning or bylaws at all, you don't have anything to overlay with, so that's a different problem.
And that
Well, I'm
exists.
just reading,
Yeah.
4412B. Except as provided subdivisions, whatever those are,
So they're important, so
Yeah.
that she'll tell us.
no bylaws on the effect of excluding mobile homes, et cetera, including manufactured housing.
Right.
Just trying to understand how that or something else.
So we will get her to clarify that and confirm that this is an overlay and not anything else. Okay, and then the next section is, I believe, what I refer to as our,
So section 8 on the bottom of page 11.
this is the option 3 that we discussed with the planners. And this is what we adopted, this is what choice we made, I believe. 2. This is paralleling the length with the road rule, and this is enabling, if people want to request to hook up to water and sewer that's available in that transit corridor, they will be able to do so. Up to 2,000 feet, right? That's where we land. Are we okay with this? Please. That was my understanding of what this section was.
I believe so.
Right. Is this, and then the union labor, we have that as a full discussion. I think we still have to have.
Yep. So that's the only change there on section 8. You get to page 13, section 9. You've made some changes to this new section
Just
related
simpler.
to union labor. A multi-unit residential housing construction project with more than 45 units that has a project labor agreement for construction shall receive a density bonus under zoning bylaw for an additional 20%.
And that is, I believe we have, that's a decision point too, obviously. And if you would, you added the down designation, this Alex Farrell has asked us to add this piece in the state community investment program. And Cam, can you speak to this?
I can walk you through the language. It came to me, as you mentioned, Madam Chair, it came from the commissioner, and this is under the State Community Investment Program in Title 24. I'm not familiar with the program, so I can't answer any specific questions you may have about the program, but the changes begin on page 14. Excuse me, page 15.
And it's really the only new language. It's all current law, I believe. in
Yes, correct.
The downtown designation program. The only thing it's adding is on page 15. And it's this is a change they are asking for. Can you just read that? And I'm just trusting Alex.
Yeah, as you were mentioning, it's in both instances, it's really just adding this language here on lines 5, 6, 15 and 16. Then some language on line 14 there. So under this step 2 and step 3, it's kind of I guess further identifying what the center is in each of these steps. But again, I'm not familiar with this program, so I don't know what the steps are in relation to. I can pull up the section and we can walk through it together. That would be helpful.
Right.
Otherwise, I would have to defer to Ellen. This is her area and she drafted this up.
Right. I'm just asking Alex, I believe he's in the building, to come and step in and chat with us about this, because he had asked to have this included, and we haven't actually had a chat about it, but so we can. I've just texted him to see if he's over in SNR. Sure. Okay.
Those are the sections.
So going through these, I think we have discussion points on the VHFA down payment assistance program. We have, help me out here, guys. We have the union, the section 9, the union discussion and the density piece. We have you have the change that you need to make up the top of page 4 of 27. I think we're okay through common community service supported housing. I think our next discussion point is page 10. The question with Ellen, just confirming with Ellen about the overlay and manufactured housing. And then we have section 9, which is on page 13, the union labor and density bonus proposal. And then we have Alex's addition on page 15, and maybe we could get him by Zoom if we can. Yeah, if you wanted to go get this in SNR and just grab it and bring him on over if that was possible. He may be deep in conversation because they're also trying to get their housing built. And then I think the last piece are the positions and the appropriations. So those are the last decision points. I think we have so sections 11 and 12. So committee, what is shall we begin with how about let's begin at the end and work our way back. VHIP. You have, I'll just remind you, we've got Ted's, I think it's Ted's. Yeah. Ted's fiscal summary here. You could borrow mine. Yeah. Ted's fiscal summary, this one on housing. You will recall that with VHIP, the what's in the governor's budget is $4 million for VHIP, and this committee has been we helped create VHIP, and we are proud of VHIP, and we chose to put in another $1 million and ask for $5 million for VHIP. Any thoughts on this?
I can continue this conversation in appropriation, but as you may remember, I was going back and forth with folks in the disability housing community and the commissioner about recent potential for ineligibility of disability housing for VHIP.
Yeah,
that was concerning to me. So
you could do that also as an amendment if you want,
okay.
or we could do it today if we.
There's the commissioner, so he can maybe speak to how this might unfold.
Commissioner, we apologize, but we had to get a hook, and here is the most attractive hook you could ever have. So we needed to bring you in for 2 pieces, if you don't mind.
Okay,
Can we pivot to Alex? I know you have to go back to SNI, right?
I'd like to.
It is fun in there.
I do have to go.
Okay.
I know you're wondering.
If you just pull up a chair next to Cam, because Cam's got to keep moving. So if you could just come and talk to us, there are a couple things that we just want. First, we want to chat with you about the addition in the designated areas. The question, the request of your language, which is I believe a fairly simple addition, is on page 15. And it's just simply that you're adding in the designated program, a portion of the center is listed or eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places unless recognized by the program as pre-existing designated new town center. Can you explain to us why that was important for you and your team?
Sure, okay, so right here, we're looking just, this is just the memo we sent the other day focused on new town centers specifically. So there are only 3 new town centers, 3
Right.
legacy new town centers. Now, the designation program, including some changes that are being contemplated in 325, it is the centers are built around this concept of there being a historic district in the center.
Right.
But maybe I'll leave it there so we don't further complicate it. There are 3 legacy new town centers that for all intents and purposes, including in Act 181, are intended to be treated as centers just as any other. One is in South Burlington, one's in Berlin, and one is in Colchester. There's some language that didn't carry through to all of the steps that was intended to carry through all of the steps that says the new town centers get an exemption from that historic requirement. So you can still be step 1, 2, or step 3 as a new town center if you meet all the other requirements, just not the historic requirement. It said the exemption carried through in step 1, carried through in step 2, and for some reason just never carried through in step 3.
So this is an exemption which enables the 3 new town centers which already exist.
That's right. And one in particular meets every other criteria for a step 3 center, except for having a historic district, and that's South Burlington. But we also want Berlin and Colchester to have the same opportunity if they choose to
Okay,
take the steps.
this is fine by me.
I mean, I think it's a longer conversation, but I just feel like we're losing track of how the designated areas relate to tiers, I was hoping we'd have knit that together more.
I think we're in the process of doing
I
that.
hope we are.
Yes, I can offer
Yeah,
that it is nicely cleaned up in
It's cleaned up.
325.
Yeah,
What's happening in natural?
yeah,
That's right.
exactly. That's
This
why we
is-
have to go back to it.
Yeah.
This is only to clear up these 3 legacy. So this will
Okay.
never affect any other centers. It's only 3 that
Yeah.
were created previously.
And then you walked in as I was talking about VHIP.
Yes. So let's, so the next decision point is about VHIP. We have, I know, of course, you can't advocate for this, but we have actually, at least at the moment, have 5 million in here for VHIP instead of 4.
Sure.
Because we, as you know, are big fans of it. However, VHIP did something that we were a little discouraged by, which is to hold the eligibility for housing, service supported housing. No,
Well, and right, so I had just brought the commissioner into the conversation about what happened between this organization's previous application and this one
Mhm.
that may have translated to them as we're not allowing this pot of money to be used for these types of projects.
Sure. So I'm still getting caught up to speed on what changed between the 2 applications. So I also never read myself into it. For the record, Alex Merrill, Fisher, the Department of Housing and Development. Yeah, so Riverflow, the project that's being discussed here, we awarded about $250,000 to them. They came for a second application for a second project on the same site. I don't have all the facts right now, so I'm not going to try to interpret why there was some change. I can just say even the first one, I think staff and the homeownership center already felt like we're bending. Everything was legal, but maybe bending the intent of the program to allow that
Just being
first application. We're being flexible to allow that to move forward, because it's something that we all value.
yeah. then-
So I need to get more facts from staff and from Cornerstone to understand why the second application was maybe one more bridge further than they could.
So,
But so you don't think a blanket decision's been made that there's a different pot of money that accessible housing is eligible for versus VHIP is not, to sort of
That's right.
make things like that.
That's a good summary.
Okay.
okay, that's great. Thank you. And then the third thing we had for you is, again, you can't advocate for this, but initially there had been a request for some new positions in your department. And I appreciate that you can't advocate for these. I know that you've had, how many positions are being cut?
Well, not cut. 7 limited service positions will
Keep with
their terms end at the end of this year.
And, but it's been very helpful to have those 7 limited positions.
For one-time work, limited service positions are exactly what we need for one-time work that's sent in.
And was it, were they only being used for one-time work?
Putting me in a very awkward position. Madam
I know
Chair.
you are, sorry. So I would point out that perhaps the 7 limited service positions were actually very useful. And that the department, which supports our housing and supports and addresses, is helping us address the housing crisis. That losing these 7 limited service positions is at a time in the middle of a housing crisis is a really bad idea and not necessarily well thought out in the budgeting process. So, I know he can't advocate for them, but I can. And so can Keisha, and so can all of us. So in our discussion, I just wanted to make sure that we appreciated that we're losing 7 people in that department, which is the department of how many?
Or depending on 45 with the limited service, will be without. It's 748.
Maybe 38.
I think 40 is what we are.
Okay.
Without.
Without the limited service.
That's right.
And okay. I know you can't always say more than that.
I'll also offer, if it's helpful context, new base funding is another mechanism through which we can get additional positions. So if we were to make it into base, that allows us to go to the position pool to get permanent positions.
And perhaps if you had an additional $1 million, that could also have.
Hypothetically.
Yeah,
Additional $1 million in VHIP or,
yes, that's what we're asking.
Yes.
We're asking for funds.
For a state position or for those who are renovating homes.
Right, we can,
Big distinction.
right, so out of the appropriation, we draw our admin, and there's a statutorily specified admin cut that we're allowed to take, and we use that to pay for
Yeah.
positions. Yeah.
Thank you. That was very helpful. And I think there was a third thing we wanted you to address, positions, money. I think that maybe it is. Am I forgetting something?
No.
That's all good. And we're going to request your help on on work that our legislative council is going to do on homeownership associations and common interest communities, because it's a piece of housing that we are not all working in on a regular basis. And we need to make some progress on welcoming them into our work in this housing crisis and actually asking more of them as we go forward. So we would assume you were key stakeholders for us as we move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Thanks. Thank you. I think you're go now. We do miss Sunny. It was a real
go,
pleasure.
yeah, go help
All right.
with this bill.
Thank you for your help on all
Happy to
fronts.
Get some.
Criticizing the process, I will say, wasn't very helpful from your boss, but I will just say that. Thank you, bye. Thank you, Cam. Well, good work there, Hook. You did a great job. Man, just go get them. It's always nice to know that we know where people are in the building. Okay, so I'll begin again. Where are we on the $5 million appropriation? Good? Okay.
But the question of disabled housing, limited access, what the question there?
I think we're fine. I think they're gonna clarify, but I don't think there's anything that limits the eligibility of a service supported housing. If they found a great building that needed to be renovated and they could apply to be there. I don't think there's any problem there. I think, and we'll find out more. I think the 250,000 is critically important on the planning and resilience fund. It's technical, I believe this is technical assistance, correct, to our RPCs. Is that my understanding to read the Municipal Regional Planning and Resilience Fund,
Mhm.
right?
What we had talked about is that this is an existing fund. It's funded by the property transfer tax that we added to
Yeah.
2 years ago. And I have at least previewed with Senator Watson, who sits on the other two committees of jurisdiction, that it feels fair to give this money to the municipal and regional planners, even if it means notwithstanding to give less to the land use review board. Because our planners are first of all being asked to do a lot of work and then being told it doesn't meet the requirements the LURP has set forward. And I feel like they are the ones in need of more resources to both figure out how we're gonna meet these housing targets and how we're gonna meet a moving target of what the LURP considers tier 1, 2, and 3.
Right. So do we need I don't think we need additional language here. I think this is fine as it is.
Fine.
Yeah.
And then appropriations gonna have to figure out how they want to notwithstand
Right.
the property transfer tax that funds this.
Is the sum in section 12, the $250,000, is that to exercise section 1, same bill? It's all
It's
about.
a piece of it. It's a piece of it. It's a continued piece to help our towns. All the planners work with our towns on these issues. I'm fine with this. It's funded by the PTT and, I'm fine with this. If everyone else is, we okay? Great. Okay, the positions. I'm sorry to have been so direct, but he is losing 7 positions. This is really tough. I know this is not, it's not like we're adding positions that didn't exist. This is keeping,
So you're still working backwards.
I'm working backwards. I'm on page 16. And so I'm working backwards because it's an appropriation, whether, the first piece is, the classified, the person in the classified, in, the Department of Aging and Independent Living in Dale. That is, that is actually not on this.
Position and
Isn't that right? There's
yeah.
full-time classified position. I think we may have to, at this point, quite honestly, given that we have, and that is partly is it on the back? Where is it? It's not here. As I recall, so I would say at this point, we would need to fund this to the advisory council and actually for further conversation in the House, because we have actually not heard, and I apologize for this, we have not heard from Dale directly on this. And we have not had a full discussion of this. And
Oh yeah.
I apologize because I think it is sort of slipped through the cracks, and that I didn't mean for it to slip through the cracks, and I feel terrible about it.
So if I may, I had a conversation with a Vermont business yesterday that reached out to me and my colleagues in our district about deep concerns they have with Dale and sending workers based on apps to home care settings or residential care settings for seniors that are either not the person who was listed on the app as coming, or has no training, etc. So I was going to ask you separately for a hearing with Dale that the Department of Labor sits in on a lack of oversight of care workers.
So to that point, I would like to pull this section at the moment and
The position.
this position at the moment and have this conversation when we get the housing bill from the House that they're working on, and that we will continue this conversation because this is an important one and we can loop in that conversation with this position discussion. And I assume that, do you have any thoughts, Polly?
Well, for the record, Polly Major, the Vermont Housing Conservation Board. I know this is an issue that this committee has heard about from the Disabilities Council. What they are hearing from family members of Vermonters with developmental disabilities is that there needs to be a point of contact within Dale that can help these families and these Vermonters navigate the complex care system and the resources that are available. And that, they really see this as a valuable position to help Vermonters access the services that are there and to better align services, especially as we're doing more work to align housing programs with the social service programs within Dale. So there just needs to be that person who can make those connections, both for the families and across the programs, and where there's not that capacity within the department. So now is what I'm hearing.
And the challenge at the moment is, as you saw with the commissioner of the Department of Housing and Community Development, no one in the administration is going to ask us for that position. That position is needed, but no one's going to ask us for it because it didn't make it into the governor's budget. It was asked for in a timely fashion from the task force, but was not able to be incorporated into Dale's budget. So we have the option of including it. Dale will not tell us in any testimony that they need this position. We know this position is needed. It would be, I believe, new positions are begin at the. I think we're looking at $150,000 here. We have to double check with Patrick.
I'm sympathetic to this because I think this person might also be charged with making sure the home-based and community-based services that are provided are
Actually going to the people that
going to the people that need it, have oversight and are listening to those folks about we're not getting trained workers, we're having like other issues with the Department of Labor. I don't know that I can say, like, I need to talk to Dale.
Yeah,
before-
and we need to talk to Kirsten Murphy again, because she did advocate, and we did hear testimony about how important this position would be. What we just didn't hear from Ms. Dale, and I know that we will not hear support for a new position from Dale, but at least Dale can confirm whether they have someone who oversees this or not. And this may be something we could either do as an amendment or when we get the House bill. I would say, continue to address this as we get the House bill. Is that okay with people? You have our public assurance group. Yes, can.
It's out for now.
I think it has to be out for now. Out for now, but not forever. How about that? Out for now, but not forever. Okay.
As you start making notes of what positions, if any, are added that are outside of the budget, I suggest that we might want to have a conversation with the folks.
We are.
Yeah, or earlier rather than later, and prioritize those things that we feel after discussion should be prioritized in order,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
if any.
I think in general, Dale is probably under-resourced to do the amount of work
That they have.
they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
sure.
would completely agree with that. So let's continue that conversation, very important one, with the addition of the home base, getting the right person to home based, and what was it? What was the rest of it? You'll feel. Patients concerned.
I mean, here it says home and community.
No, your concern though is,
Oh, my concern
is the right
is-
people going to
is
the,
app-based, app-based recruitment for,
okay, well,
it's a labor matter
Yeah.
for residential.
Okay. so the other two are 3 positions in the Department of Housing and Community Development. And I'm not sure that I don't know where so what's your pleasure on these 3 positions? It's just frustrating because I don't see in Ted's work here any of the positions. So we're not, but we can, we know what each position is generally valued at, which is 150. So, what's your pleasure? Thomas, Randy,
No strong opinions.
what?
No strong opinions.
They're not in the governor's budget. So should we continue this conversation also as we see what comes from the House?
I think they're.
Because quite honestly, the 802 Homes Initiative I mean, I'm not sure what additional new housing, is coming away from the house or coupled with, they see what makes it out and to us. So we pull these at the moment and have further discussion with the pros. And which, yeah, okay. Nope.
So removing the
I
entire.
think that means we're removing in the entire section 11,
In
sadly.
case we don't get another chance to talk about it, I just want to say, for those of us who've been on the committee, every time we're like, why didn't this happen? Or why hasn't this project got support?
This is why.
They've said we haven't filled 3 of these positions, or we needed, I mean, like, these are the positions that have kept housing going.
Yeah.
Like have kept projects advancing.
So
My sense is if this is something that we feel is a critical position, and that's really the key, if we include as a committee, this is a critical position, we ought to put it in.
Yeah.
Somebody may take it out, but if it's not in the first place, it probably won't be considered that important. Otherwise, they put it in would be the argument.
I agree. And this is to the tune of $450,000. That's what this would be at the moment. With those 3 positions, rather that's what you could be budgeted for. And I would rather not see them pulled out of, if he needs them, I would rather, I mean,
I would knit it together with the V. We're asking them to move significant dollars to lots of little individuals who are not trained in how to access grants and support from the state. It needs positions for us to move those dollars. And that's a little bit of what I feel like the commissioner was saying. If we advocate for more money for VHIP, but maybe we leave the language of these positions in regardless to say money doesn't move unless
correct.
have positions to help.
And as he stated, the money for VHIP does not go to, it goes in part to the administration, but it's statutorily limited.
Right.
As that it mostly have to go out to the housing and to the building of the housing. Very small amount of it is being able to be used.
But if it's base budgeted, they can use that percentage for positions.
So these are 3 full-time positions, replacing 7 limited service positions, just saying. 3 already are doing work of 7. And this is would be a cost of, at least in the budget of $450. So if you don't ask, Randy, you're right, we don't get it. I am happy to ask for it, as you've heard. I am a strong advocate for their staffing and support.
We replace 7, we have 7 people.
No, he's losing 7 limited positions. He testified just now, he's losing 7 limited service positions. And this,
But not doing the same thing, I'm assuming,
but
not doing the same thing.
my guess is they're doing much of the same thing.
Because VHIP was never base budgeted before. And so every time we did base budget it, it should be limited service position.
What is people's feeling? I think Keisha and I are pretty supportive of these positions for housing. We're in a housing crisis. We're not doing my housing revenue bill. So we're not raising more money for housing. We need people enabling. This is the low hanging fruit that helps support getting more housing done. So all of a sudden. Thomas, how do you feel?
Yeah, I'm fine with leaving it in. My experience in this role is that the appropriations is gonna do what
Oh, that's
appropriations is gonna do, so we'll keep it in.
And we'll be able to make the case again in appropriations for this if and when.
But it's not there, you don't need to.
So Randy, I assume from your comment earlier that you'd be supportive of keeping these 3
I
positions.
think it's essential. That's what it's saying.
Mr. Reeves.
I'm ambivalent. It's really, I understand enough now to know that, by the time the term's over, these positions are critical. They'll be in.
Okay,
Leave them in as a placeholder. Doesn't.
bother you. Okay, great. Let's leave them in as a placeholder, keeping in 1 and 2. The other decisions we need to make are with Ellen. I believe those are our the key money decisions, except for VHFA. The VHFA decision is our last money decision. And I will just remind you, you all got a very strong email from Laura the other day, which I am really grateful for. This, I will just remind us, enables us to keep the the down payment assistance at $10,000. Cost of housing is increasing, their down payments have to be higher. This enables more people to get the down payment assistance that we had initially envisioned. Is that correct? Chad Simmons was over there wearing at least 3 hats.
Yes, Chad Simmons, Housing and Homelessness Alliance Vermont. Yes, the
Former VHFA member.
former employee.
Of
of
employee.
VHF, yes. And so, yes, the raising it to 350,000 per year and having those credits be sold to then support the down payment assistance program would allow VHFA to keep the grant or the down payment assistance at $10,000, and it would give time for the account to be replenished. So again, just as a reminder, that
Thank you, that's key, it's
Yeah,
a revolving fund.
the tax credits are sold and the proceeds from the sale of those credits are then used for the down payment assistance program. And then once the home is sold or is refinanced, that money is then paid back to VHFA to be recycled and used for future down payment assistance.
And to go back to the inflation challenge with Bates here, is that because housing is so expensive, the normal churn we see, A, housing is more expensive, and B, there's less available. Therefore, we're seeing less churn in that fund and less money available. So this will help bridge that and both address the inflationary concerns and the non-churn reality.
Correct. The market needs more time essentially. And so by extending the tax credit for another 5 years will allow more time to go on and for
So
the
we're gonna
market.
need you in.
I'm gonna be right next
Okay.
door and that will be.
Thank you. Okay. I'm very supportive of this. And I would hope the committee would join. Again, it's something that can always. Or folks will have a way, and actually. Finance will see this first. So if we can leave it in as a placeholder, I'd appreciate it and continue the conversation in finance. Are you okay with that? Great. Thanks. Okay, so then I think we're ready for Ellen. I think we're yes on everything. You have one change in 2027 on page.
That's already done.
That's already done.
I have one other change, which is to remove the position for Dale.
Sadly,
And
I just think we haven't had as much discussion. Thank you. It breaks my heart. I would love to add that.
I'm gonna stay and wait for any further amendment.
I think that would be great if you can. And if not, get to see you too.
I'm not going anywhere.
If you want to sit there and just pull up Ellen's chair, whatever you want.
Go ahead. Be here for more support.
Thank you. I appreciate you had a busy morning. We all appreciate. We just went and got Alex Farrell
I know.
out of your committee. I thought you would appreciate that. We just walked down the hall and grabbed her. So Ellen, welcome. We have already walked through option 3, which you kindly had redrafted in this.
Yep.
And if you'd like to, we also have another question before we get to option 3.
Oh, sure, yeah.
The transit just to remind everybody that transit corridor, water and sewer accessible, being able to access it. On page, we had still a question on the manufactured housing on page 10. Are you okay? Good, great. We just wanted to confirm that this is an overlay on. You want to?
So this is my understanding, is, tell me if I'm correct, that this would not negate local requirements for aesthetics, curb design and otherwise, that this would just make it so that in a city that has zoning and regulations, they could prevent something that is prefabricated, pre-constructed, manufactured somewhere else, but they could still require it be 2 stories, that it have an awning, that it have a front porch, that it have a certain setback from the sidewalks. Is that a correct interpretation, that this would not overrule local regulations that they adopt and how they want the neighborhoods to be designed for new builds?
Yes. They have to treat prefabricated or manufactured housing the same terms and conditions as conventional housing. So yes, they can still have to impose what requirements they have imposed on other housing objects.
And in no ways would this negate any of those current positions on look, deal, design,
Yes.
deal, I say that.
Yeah.
Look and design. It's a-
Yes. Yes, they're still allowed to have design review districts, historic districts, and all those requirements as well.
Okay,
So
and I think clarifying that was our big concern. Is that okay, committee? Great. Then let's move. Just cognizant of our time. Then let's move to section 8. Is that,
That's the
yeah, section 8 is our
water
transit. Oh, I'd still call it the transit corridor, but it's not the transit, it's the water sewer extension.
Yeah, I don't think we should call it that.
I know, okay, but I'm gonna have to.
Economic.
Okay.
Economic, that's better. Economic and housing development corridor. Right.
So
Would you like just to go through it with us quickly? We basically, I think, have all okayed it because we okayed it the other day, but
yeah,
thank you for
so,
drafting.
Page 11, section 8, amending the definition section 4303 because we have this definition of served by municipal sewer and water infrastructure, which is not really a true definition. It's more of the way that my municipalities identify what these areas are. And so the first prong of that definition is an area where residential connections and expansions are available to a parcel or a portion of a parcel within 2,000 feet of municipal water and direct and indirect discharge, wastewater systems, and not prohibited by state regulations or permits, capacity constraints, or capacity agreements. So that is one way that towns have the ability to identify these areas. The second prong of this definition gives the town additional authority if they have other constraints on their system and different types of areas they want to exclude. But this is the first prong for the ways towns can identify what these areas are.
Right. Helpful. And we again are grateful to our planning community for coming to us with these 4 options. It was great. Again, we, with our limited time, have to rely on the experts around the state. We're lucky we have so many of them. And our wonderful legislative council will draft them. Any other concerns? I think this moving forward, we can refine it as we move to the House, but I think this is a great start. And I think accomplishes what we're hoping for.
It's more clear.
And it's clear. Clarity is yeah. Everybody okay with this? Great. So our last thorny section, and I'm hoping we can come to some land this one way or the other, is I believe the last discussion is union labor.
Did you talk about section 10?
I think we did.
Great.
We talked about section 10. That's why we got the.
Oh, that's why you got
out.
Oh, great. And Natural Resources took out their section that conflicted with this. So
So
the trains are on. Yes, the trains are really good. Parallel, not crashing.
The trains are leaving the station at the right,
Yes.
on the right track. Straight. Okay, good. So would you just go over the new language?
Sure. So this would be adding a new section in the zoning chapter. So it's just related to towns that have zoning. A multi-unit residential housing construction project with more than 45 units that has a project labor agreement for construction shall receive a density bonus under a zoning bylaw of an additional 20%.
Honest.
So I'll say a few things about this. One, I see a principled stance where we want to advocate for and advance labor usage in building in Vermont. And I see another one where we don't want to have preferential treatment towards different types of laborers. What to me, so those are political arguments, policy arguments. I want to take it to practical. And as I do the math out on these things, and I can show you my proof, and I haven't talked to a developer, but I just don't see this penciling out. Even if you assume only a 10% premium on labor, using labor, I think it's arguably 15% or more, but even at a 10% premium, you would need a a marginal contribution, profit margin of 45% on those additional 10 units. You're lucky to get maybe 25% from what I can tell. So we could pass this, but I don't think it will actually, I'd love a developer, somebody else prove me wrong. I just don't think you're actually going to get somebody to want to do 10 more units, especially when that usually triggers higher construction costs. This is all from the Google. Okay. I haven't talked to anybody, but you have to go to steel beams. You got to go to elevators. You got to do more underground parking lots. So we can have this debate and conflict on those 2 points that Richard Wabi so eloquently argued for, and I've heard here. But I also just don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze, because I don't know if this is actually going to affect any policy changes or more housing being built. So that's why I would say just stripping it seems to be where I am to just move this thing forward.
I don't want to put words in my friend Senator Weeks' mouth, but I think that may be where you are.
I agree.
I thought you might. You also. So I would, at this point now, this doesn't mean that this is my new term for this week. Out for now, but not forever. So I think this is an important thing for us to discuss. May be a particular challenge for some of our rural communities in the first, but I think this could deserve more penciling out so that people actually understand the financial implications. But it is an opportunity for density, which it may need a bigger density. The equation needs to pencil out for it to make sense.
Well, that makes sense to us, and ideally having someone with a background in construction economics who can in fact testify to it and provide us documentation that it makes sense, then, certainly might consider it.
I am going to speak to, as we go forward, obviously the committee chairs are in concert with each other. Mark knows that we have this piece in our bill. If we take it out now, I think, particularly given the housing investment fund that the unions have, the AFL-CIO has available for union labor projects, that should be an enticement for any major multi-unit project in the state, that as you bid, that you should be making clear that if you accept this contract, that this is the additional opportunity you have going forward. To get this bill out today, I would propose we remove section 9 and that we do additional work on this with the House and see if we can get it to a point where it makes financial sense. JP.
JP Isbell, the Vermont AFL-CIO. I hear your concern. My only request to this committee would be that I would love for you to hear from AFL-CIO Housing Investment Trust. They are the experts in this. They do these programs. And what they're doing in other states, how other states, municipalities have, in some cases, created funds, revolving funds, where it then invests and they buy the bonds and that sort of thing. So I would love for you to hear from them about what they're doing.
We would be happy to do that after.
Yeah. Yep.
We're getting a housing bill. We can add this. We can
I hear that.
have the House add it. I think we have 3 no votes on this. Yeah. Because the penciling out.
I missed my rationale. Can we say it all again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quickly. Take Gene Hamilton's time.
Yeah, no, I can't fight 3 no votes, because otherwise I just say, I think this is a valuable part of the bill, and I don't want to just keep cutting things that are pushed out to get it out.
So I said that I wanted, that we need to have it penciled out. It needs to make sense financially. So I hear Thomas. I also am going to ask the chair in the House to take up this section.
Okay. I don't know exactly what it means for it to pencil out, like we give them a bigger density bonus.
Yeah, that may have to happen for it to pencil out.
Great.
So this section is out for now, but not forever. Okay, that's my crossover line. So with that, Cam and Ellen, could we come up with a new draft for us to consider voting out? Because I think we now have agreement on everything else. Ellen, thank you for your work on this.
Labor out.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, not totally. They're still in the room. David is still here.
Well, we should bring them. It's dramatic. Like this is a benefit. It's a win-win.
It's an opportunity.
It wasn't hurting anybody else.
I agree. It's an opportunity. No one has to take advantage of it, but we will live to fight this discussion another day. And I am happy to continue that conversation and feel very strongly we should continue that. But I also feel that it has to be an incentive that means something to a developer, and if it doesn't pencil out, not gonna do that. So we want it to be a meaningful incentive that, so your density bonus may have to be higher for us to make
Love
this happen. But let's continue.
Couldn't-
Can I just say one
thing?
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
David,
just
sorry,
want to say,
apologies.
I think there's a false assumption that actually this will cost
I
more
know.
money because the studies don't show that. So, in fact, there's studies that show it saves money in projects. So in terms of penciling out, I think that should be
Right,
taken into consideration. Maybe the input density bonus needs to go up, that's fine.
right.
And the opportunity for the investment fund from the trust is huge. I mean, that is a big
I'll
incentive.
just mention the federal government does this now. In both administrations, they implemented project labor agreement for federal construction contracts. So this is not, and this has been around for decades, but I hear you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we have prevailing wage in Vermont. This
The
is
issue
not,
is right now.
Only for state
I've not heard enough testimony that is balanced and independent to convince us. And if there is such testimony, I certainly would change my vote.
well, we will have that. I make the commitment for us to have that.
Like,
Thanks.
So I think then we're looking at draft 3.1.
You will have it. It better.
I move favor say draft 3.1 of bill
Are we close enough to be able to do that?
28.
Yes, give me 1 second. I'm gonna walk through one more time, just making sure second numbers are right.
Draft 3.1.
Accuracy of consent. Accuracy of consent.
Oh, no.
When you're ready, the timestamp camp.
11:22. Great.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, let's already do something.
And we could argue about the title of it. I think for the title, actually, we need a new title.
The title of the bill is within the sole purview of our office. You can add a section to title it something different if you would like.
I think we need to because common interest communities is no longer a piece of this. I mean, it's a piece.
What I can do is, so keep in mind, the bill hasn't changed. You're
Right.
recommending an amendment. The body would have to approve. And if the body approves the amendment, I'll talk with the secretary's office
Okay.
about what needs to happen to
Right.
potentially change. it.
Yeah.
Because I also think that the House may want to relitigate the conversation. I have
Absolutely.
interest communities, they're having their own conversation about.
And we will update too and have. This is a charge to the House to have fuller conversations on all these things.
Okay, I am emailing this to,
And what draft are we talking about?
this will be draft 3.1. And the timestamp, in 1 second, is not in.
11:23.
The timestamp on the document is going to be 10:40.
Oh, okay, goodness.
Chair, I would move favorably as 327 draft 3.1.
328.
328. I would, Madam Chair, I would move favorably draft, bill S 328, draft 3.1, timestamp 10:40 a.m. March 13th.
Do you have a sheet? Okay. I would ask that Mr. Clerk call the roll.
Senator Brock,
Yes.
Senator Schiff,
Yes.
Senator Robinson.
Yeah.
Senator Weeks, yes. Senator Clarkson,
Yes. And I'm happy to be the lead reporter, but I really would love help on key sections for people who feel strongly about certain sections. So I am happy to do this as a team effort. Because this was a good team effort. I would like to thank you all. This is a lot of lifting this week. And I really appreciate your support on this work. And in conjunction with what SNRE is putting out today, we have worked in our jurisdiction very productively, and I'm very grateful. So
Do we have any word from them?
they may be working through the floor.
The road, no, they voted it. The road rule has been pushed to 2030
Okay,
and to, that's
great.
Okay, good. So I think a lot of their work is going to complement our work. I think we've taken some good steps forward on housing this year. So thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, advocates. You're amazing, and team.
Can we get them in on 325 next week?
Sure. And actually, that's a great, because we are, just to give you a heads up, next week, we can go offline now. Thank you, everybody.